At 5:12 local time over the northern Arabian Sea, the operations center inside a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier is quiet. The radar screens show a routine picture. Green sweeps move smoothly across the displays. Merchant ships mark the horizon. Patrol routes look normal. Nothing stands out. Then one console lights up. A new contact appears. A radar operator leans closer. Range, 92 nautical miles. Bearing, 041. Altitude, low. A second mark appears beside it, then a third. 3 aircraft. Tight formation, moving fast. The watch supervisor immediately places the contacts on the large tactical display along the wall. The 3 radar marks begin sliding steadily toward the carrier strike group. Their speed keeps rising. 400 knots, 450, 500. Someone checks the transponder codes. Nothing. No identification, no filed route, no radio call, only silence. The tactical action officer keeps his voice controlled. Track them. The spy radar network expands its search pattern and locks onto the approaching formation. The aircraft drop lower again, now just under 3,000 feet, low enough to blend into the clutter above the sea. That is not normal. Inside the operations center, the tension is quiet, but everyone feels it. This is exactly the kind of pattern watch teams are trained to recognize. 3 aircraft, close formation, no transponders, high speed, heading toward a U.S. carrier strike group. The operations officer studies the radar profiles. Run identification. Electronic sensors begin comparing heat signatures, radar returns, and airframe shapes against known aircraft databases. The first result appears within seconds. MiG-29 Fulcrum. The radar operator looks up, Iranian. But the next 2 contacts do not match the same type. Another analyst zooms in on the thermal profile. Different engine pattern, longer fuselage, variable wing outline, second aircraft, possible F-14 Tomcat. For a moment, the room goes still. Iran is the only country still operating them. Then the third aircraft is identified. Large radar signature. Twin engine strike platform, Su-24. 3 different aircraft, 3 different roles. Flying together in one formation. The tactical officer gives a slow nod. That is not a routine patrol. Outside, on the carrier's flight deck, sailors move between parked aircraft, preparing for the morning air operations cycle. The sea is calm. The sky is pale blue, with thin clouds drifting near the horizon. No one on deck can see the approaching jets yet, but inside the ship, the situation is already shifting. Range, 80 nautical miles. The Iranian aircraft descend again. Altitude, 2,000 feet. Speed, Mach 0.9. Naval aviators know that profile well. Low altitude, high speed, reduced radar exposure. A classic maritime strike-style approach. The communications officer opens the emergency frequency. Unidentified aircraft approaching United States naval forces in international waters. You are entering a monitored zone. Maintain safe distance immediately. The warning goes out across multiple radio bands. Military, civilian, and international guard. No answer. The 3 aircraft continue inbound. Inside the operations center, the escorting destroyers begin adjusting their posture. Aegis radars widen their search sectors. Data moves instantly across the fleet network. Every ship now sees the same 3 contacts. One escort cruiser starts calculating intercept options. Another destroyer activates its tracking systems, not to escalate, just to be ready. Back on the carrier, a second transmission is sent. Unidentified aircraft. Alter course immediately. Again, silence. Range, 65 nautical miles. That number matters. At this distance, long-range air-to-air systems can already become a factor. The tactical officer watches the closing timer count down. No change in course, no climb. No radio response, just 3 aircraft, holding formation, closing fast over open water. Then the electronic warfare station breaks the silence. New radar emission detected. Every head in the CIC turns toward the console. The signal is narrow and concentrated. This is not a broad search pattern. It is a precision tracking signal. One of the Iranian aircraft has changed radar modes, shifting from scanning the area to focusing on a specific target. In aviation terms, that change carries serious meaning. The operator confirms it. Contact Bravo. Iranian F-14 radar active. On the tactical display, the symbol beside the Iranian aircraft changes color. The carrier group has just been marked by a high-focus tracking radar, and the 3 jets are still closing. 5:16 local time. Distance, 52 nautical miles. Inside the carrier's operations center, the 3 aircraft icons continue moving across the tactical display. Their speed remains just below Mach 1. Their altitude drops again, now barely 1,200 feet above the water. Sea skimming altitude, a profile designed to stay hidden inside radar clutter. The tactical officer keeps his voice calm. Confirm radar emissions. The electronic warfare operator checks the signal one more time. Confirmed. Precision tracking radar active. The emission is coming from the Iranian F-14 Tomcat, flying slightly behind the lead aircraft. On the screen, the formation becomes easier to read. The MiG-29 is out front, fast and agile, built for air-to-air maneuvering. Behind it, the Tomcat holds a slightly higher position, its radar beam reaching forward in a narrow cone, tracking the carrier group with growing intensity. Trailing lower in the formation, the Su-24 moves heavier and closer to the sea, keeping tight to the surface. 3 aircraft, 3 different roles: escort, tracking platform, low-level strike jet. The tactical officer studies the geometry. They are shaping a corridor. Outside, the Arabian Sea is still calm. The carrier cuts through deep blue water at 20 knots, while its escorts hold their defensive ring several miles away. But across the fleet network, every radar in the group is now focused on the same 3 aircraft. Aegis systems aboard the destroyers track them continuously. Altitude, speed, heading. Every detail is being recorded. On the carrier's bridge, the air defense commander listens as the report comes up from CIC. 3 Iranian aircraft approaching in coordinated formation. Distance 50 nautical miles and closing. There is a short pause. Launch the intercept. On the flight deck below, 2 F/A-18 Super Hornets on alert suddenly come to life. Engines roar. Deck crews move with practice speed. Yellow shirts signal. Red shirts clear the wheels. Steam rolls across the catapult track. Inside the cockpits, the pilots complete their final checks in seconds. They have already heard the warning over the ship's internal network. Unknown aircraft approaching fast. Possible high-risk intent. The catapult officer gives the signal. The first Hornet is thrown into the morning sky through a wall of steam. The second follows moments later. Both aircraft turn immediately toward the contact axis, but they still need altitude, speed, and distance. Back inside CIC, the radar picture tightens. Distance, 48 nautical miles. The Iranian formation remains steady. No hesitation, no course change. Then the electronic warfare console lights up again. New signal spike. The operator zooms in on the radar emissions. The Tomcat's radar beam becomes sharper. Power output increases. That is no longer simple tracking. That is preparation for guided engagement. Another officer checks the MiG-29. The fulcrum is sliding slightly left. On the display, the lead jet shifts position, opening space and shaping a clear path through the formation. Behind it, the Su-24 drops even lower. Altitude now just 800 feet above the ocean surface. The low-level strike aircraft is lining up. The tactical officer speaks quietly. That aircraft is setting up for a run. The Su-24 was never meant to turn and fight in the air. Its purpose is different. It is a maritime strike aircraft built to carry heavy long-range anti-ship payloads, the kind designed to put even large warships at serious risk from far beyond visual range. Inside the CIC, the air defense clock keeps counting down. Time to intercept, 5 minutes. Time until the aircraft reaches its possible launch envelope, less than 2. At another console, one of the escort destroyers brings its fire control radar online. The Aegis system begins calculating defensive solutions automatically. Standard missile batteries move to ready status, but nothing is launched yet. The rules remain strict. Do not engage unless the threat becomes unmistakable. Then the electronic warfare station calls out again, louder this time. Radar spike confirmed. Every eye turns toward the console. The Tomcat's radar has changed modes again. This time, the signal is no longer sweeping across the area. It is focused on a single target, the aircraft carrier. Across multiple CIC screens, warning indicators begin flashing. Target lock detected. The Iranian F-14 now has a usable engagement solution. Distance, 42 nautical miles. For a long-range system, that is more than enough. One officer exhales slowly. They are committing. Outside the carrier, the scene still looks calm. The sea is smooth. The horizon is clear. Nothing about the morning appears different. But roughly 40 miles away, 3 Iranian jets are still heading straight toward the most powerful naval force in the region. And one of them has now brought its launch system into position. Seconds later, the radar operator confirms it. The Iranian jet's targeting radar stabilizes. Lock sustained. The weapons officer watches the display, then says the phrase everyone in the room understands. Launch parameters achievable. The Tomcat holds the lock. 3 seconds. 4, 5. Then a new flash appears on the radar scope. The Iranian aircraft has released a missile. 5:17 local time. Inside the Combat Information Center, the radar operator sees it first. A new contact bursts onto the tactical screen. Small, fast, accelerating hard. The symbol turns red. Missile launch. For half a second, the room falls completely quiet. Then the tactical officer speaks. Confirm track. Another console locks onto the object almost instantly. Speed climbing past Mach 2, altitude low. Heading straight toward the carrier strike group. Confirmed. 1 missile inbound. On the massive digital map across the CIC wall, a track line stretches from the Iranian F-14 toward the American formation. Estimated time to intercept, 90 seconds. That is the new timeline. A minute and a half between launch and impact. The Air Defense Commander does not hesitate. Activate defensive systems. Across the carrier strike group, the response begins almost immediately. On board an escorting Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, the Aegis combat system shifts from tracking mode to engagement mode. The ship's spy radar tightens its beam and locks onto the incoming missile. Every movement is now being measured again and again, hundreds of times per second. Speed, heading, flight profile. A defensive solution forms automatically, but the destroyer's captain holds for the next step because something else is already underway. Inside the carrier's electronic warfare station, another alarm activates. EW active. Operators begin transmitting powerful electronic signals into the air. Invisible waves flood the space between the fleet and the incoming threat, creating interference, false returns, and signal distortion. The goal is not to intercept it yet. The goal is to confuse it. 40 nautical miles away, the mist continues racing toward the strike group, but it is not operating on instinct. It depends on radar guidance. The Iranian F-14 is still holding the targeting lock, feeding data forward as the missile closes the distance. At least that is how the system is supposed to work. Inside the Tomcat's cockpit, the pilot watches the guidance display closely. The missile should be tracking smoothly. Then, the data flickers. The radar return weakens, then shifts. The pilot notices it immediately. Something is interfering with the signal. Back inside the American carrier strike group, the electronic warfare systems increase their output. Multiple ships are now transmitting at once, building a coordinated wall of electromagnetic noise across the sky. The incoming weapon starts receiving mixed signals. Instead of seeing one clear target, its seeker begins detecting many. False echoes, phantom returns, shifting reflections across the water. Its guidance computer tries to adjust, but every correction pulls it deeper into confusion. Inside the CIC, the radar operator watches the track begin to shake. Missile losing stability. The tactical officer leans closer to the display. Distance, 30 miles. At this point, the weapon should be flying in a clean, direct line toward the carrier. But instead, its track begins to drift. At first, only slightly. Then the movement becomes obvious. The electronic warfare systems are doing exactly what they were built to do. Break the lock. High above the Arabian Sea, the two F/A-18 Super Hornets launched from the carrier climb hard toward the threat axis. Their radars sweep ahead. The pilots already know what has happened. A launch has been detected. They push their engines harder and continue closing the distance. Inside the CIC, the inbound track keeps struggling. The guidance signal flickers again. The radar operator points to the screen. It's searching. That means the weapon has lost its main lock. Its onboard seeker is now trying to find anything that matches its target profile. But the airspace ahead is filled with electronic interference. The track banks slightly left, then right. It tries to reacquire, but every scan runs into a wall of noise. Distance, 20 miles. Still no stable lock. Inside the Iranian F-14, the crew tries to maintain guidance, but the carrier group's electronic warfare systems are overpowering the signal. The radar picture starts breaking apart. The incoming weapon is now almost blind. Back in the carrier's CIC, the tactical officer keeps watching the track. Status. The radar operator shakes his head. No stable target acquisition. 10 seconds later, the track begins drifting fully off course. Its seeker scans open water. The carrier strike group remains hidden behind a wall of electronic confusion. The weapon continues forward, but no longer toward its intended target. Finally, at extreme range, it loses effective guidance. Its path begins to curve downward. The radar return weakens, then disappears. Impact in open water. Inside the CIC, nobody celebrates. No cheers, no raised voices, just a calm confirmation. Missile splash. One threat neutralized. But 40 miles away, the Iranian strike formation is still inbound. And now, American fighters are closing in. 5:19 local time. The missile is gone. Its radar track disappeared from the screen seconds earlier, ending harmlessly in the sea. But inside the Combat Information Center, no one relaxes. The 3 Iranian aircraft are still coming. Distance, 34 nautical miles. Speed, Mach 0.92. Formation intact. The MiG-29 remains in front, moving low over the ocean. Behind it, the F-14 Tomcat continues holding its radar beam, although the lock has been weakened by the carrier group's electronic interference. At the rear, the Su-24 strike aircraft stays close to the water, altitude 700 feet. The tactical officer studies the formation carefully. They are still committed. Even after the failed launch, the Su-24 could still pose a serious risk if it reaches the right distance. Inside the CIC, the intercept clock keeps counting. Then a new voice comes over the air defense channel. Viper 1, radar contact. The first F/A-18 Super Hornet has reached the area, 30,000 feet above the ocean. The American fighter levels out and locks its radar onto the approaching formation. 3 contacts appear immediately. Confirmed. 3 bandits. The pilot's voice is calm and controlled. The second Super Hornet joins moments later. Now the balance in the sky begins to shift. Back inside the carrier strike group, the destroyers maintain radar contact on every aircraft. Electronic warfare systems keep filling the air with interference, but the real pressure is now coming from above. The American fighters descend rapidly toward the Iranian formation. Altitude, 20,000 feet. Speed, Mach 1.1. Closing fast! Inside the Iranian MiG-29 cockpit, the radar warning receiver suddenly comes alive. A sharp tone fills the pilot's headset. He looks down at the display. A radar beam is tracking him. Not from the carrier, from above. American fighters. The MiG-29 pilot moves slightly right, trying to identify the threat. Seconds later, the F-14 Tomcat crew receives the same warning. 2 separate radar locks. High altitude, fast approach. That means the interceptors are already close enough to matter. Inside the American Super Hornet, the pilot calls the range. 30 miles. His radar display shows the Iranian formation clearly. MiG-29, F-14, Su-24. 3 different aircraft, still flying together. The pilot locks onto the MiG-29 first. His targeting system stabilizes almost instantly. The aircraft's computer calculates a clean engagement solution, but he does not act yet, because the mission is not to escalate. The mission is to stop the approach. Inside the carrier's CIC, the radar operator watches the entire picture unfold across the tactical display. The geometry is changing fast. The Iranian formation now has 2 American fighters closing from above, while the full carrier strike group remains ready below. The tactical officer watches the range numbers continue to fall. Distance to carrier, 28 miles. At that range, the Su-24 would need only moments to release its anti-ship payload. But now, the Iranian pilots have a different problem. American fighters are above them. Inside the MiG-29 cockpit, the pilot checks his warning display again. 2 radar locks. Strong, stable, close. If the situation escalates, the American aircraft could reach him long before he ever reaches the carrier. Inside the Super Hornet, the pilot tightens his turn and drops altitude. He moves into position just off the MiG-29's left side. He does not fire. He does not need to. His position alone sends the message clearly. The second Hornet angles toward the F-14 Tomcat. 2 American fighters now control the airspace above the formation. For several more seconds, the Su-24 continues forward. Then the bomber's pilot sees the same warning lights. 2 separate American radar locks. At that moment, the Iranian crews understand the situation completely. The corridor they were trying to build is gone. They are no longer approaching an exposed carrier. They are moving into a layered defensive network. Destroyers tracking from below, electronic warfare disrupting their systems, and American fighters holding the advantage above them. Inside the carrier's CIC, the tactical officer speaks quietly. They are boxed in. The radar picture confirms it. 3 Iranian aircraft, 2 American interceptors, an entire carrier strike group beneath them. For the first time since the encounter began, the Iranian formation hesitates. Their speed starts to fall. Their altitude begins to rise. It is a small change, but everyone inside the CIC understands what it means. The Iranian pilots have just realized something important. The closer they came to the carrier strike group, the more information the U.S. Navy was collecting. Radar signatures, communication patterns, electronic frequencies, flight behavior, every detail. What began as a pressure move has turned into something else entirely, a surveillance trap. And now they are flying inside it, 5:23 local time. Altitude, 18,000 feet. The 2 F/A-18 Super Hornets remain above the Iranian formation like quiet shadows. Below them, the MiG-29 adjusts course slightly, its wings rocking as the pilot searches the sky. Inside his cockpit, the radar warning receiver continues its steady tone. American radar lock. It has not disappeared. It has not weakened. It is intentional. 30 miles away, the U.S. aircraft carrier continues moving through calm water. From the outside, nothing appears different. Just steel hulls cutting through a blue ocean. But around the strike group, the invisible network is fully awake. Every radar beam, every signal, every movement, all of it is being captured inside the carrier's Combat Information Center. The tactical display shows the situation clearly. 3 Iranian aircraft, 2 American fighters, 4 escort ships, 1 carrier. Every system is linked through the fleet data network. The tactical officer studies the Iranian formation closely. They are slowing. The radar operator confirms it. Speed dropping from Mach 0.92 to Mach 0.78. Altitude climbing slowly. The Su-24 is the first to move out of its low-level strike profile. Its nose rises as the pilot climbs to a safer maneuvering altitude. That change says everything. A strike aircraft only climbs like that when the approach is no longer possible. High above the formation, the lead Super Hornet pilot watches through his helmet display. His radar holds firmly on the MiG-29. His systems are ready. With a single command, he could send a long-range AIM-120 Amram racing toward the Iranian fighter at incredible speed. But he does not. He simply keeps the lock long enough for the message to be clear. Inside the MiG-29 cockpit, the pilot checks his instruments again. 2 American fighters are above him. Both are close. Both have the advantage. Behind him, the F-14 Tomcat crew tries to regain a stable radar picture. Its powerful AWG-9 radar sweeps forward again, searching for the carrier strike group, but the signal breaks apart almost immediately. The airspace is still filled with electronic interference. A clean lock is impossible. Inside the Tomcat, the radar officer says something quietly over the intercom. They cannot guide another weapon. They cannot see clearly through the electronic noise. And now, American fighters are close enough to respond instantly. Inside the carrier's CIC, the radar operator follows every movement. MiG-29 altering heading. On the tactical screen, the blip begins to shift. At first, it is only a slight turn. Then the angle widens. The aircraft is no longer heading directly toward the strike group. It is turning away. Seconds later, the Su-24 follows. Its heavy wings roll slowly as the aircraft banks east. The F-14 Tomcat stays on course for a moment longer, its radar still searching for a stable signal. Then its heading changes too. 3 aircraft, all turning away. Inside the CIC, the tactical officer watches the maneuver unfold. No celebration, just confirmation. Contacts disengaging. Outside, high above the Arabian Sea, the American Super Hornets hold position for several more seconds. They remain with the Iranian formation just long enough to make sure the message has been received. Then the lead pilot breaks radio silence. Carrier control, Viper 1. Aircraft turning east. Approach profile terminated. The response from the carrier comes immediately. Copy, Viper 1. Maintain escort until clear. Below them, the Iranian formation begins to accelerate slightly, moving back toward the distant coastline hundreds of miles away. The Su-24 climbs higher. The MiG-29 levels out. The F-14 Tomcat finally powers down its radar. Inside the carrier strike group, the sensors keep watching even as the jets move farther away. Radar signatures recorded, electronic frequencies captured, guidance signals analyzed. Every detail is stored. Inside the CIC, the tactical officer leans back slightly as the radar contacts fade toward the horizon. Only minutes earlier, 3 Iranian aircraft had approached the most powerful naval force in the region in a coordinated formation. They activated targeting radar. They launched a weapon. They came close enough to create a serious situation, but they left behind something they could not take back. Their radar behavior had been mapped. Their electronic signals had been captured. Their tactics had been exposed. Outside, the Arabian Sea becomes quiet again. The carrier continues forward, its escorts holding formation around it. Above the fleet, the 2 Super Hornets circle once more before turning back toward the ship. The encounter is over. No dramatic sky battle, no falling wreckage, no visible sign that anything happened at all. But deep inside U.S. Navy intelligence systems, analysts now have something far more valuable than a simple win. They have the full electronic fingerprint of the Iranian aircraft that tried to challenge the carrier group. And the next time those jets appear on radar, the strike group will already know how they move, how they search, and how they fight.